Hello, everybody. Welcome to E&T Entertainment. Crazy hour. Get your tinfoil hats, your aluminum foil hats on, and we're going to go down a rabbit hole that I've been recently introduced to, that I have done a video on, that you will never see because there was a dog barking in the middle of it the entire time and I couldn't focus. This is why I'm already like way into it on my whiteboard, but you haven't seen anything yet. And I didn't want to erase it all and have to draw it all again because my drawings just go downhill. So we're gonna just recap what I was saying. We're gonna make this a lot quicker of a video. It was about an hour presentation of me being in a terrible headspace and a dog barking on top of that, and I couldn't focus for anything. But now I'm a little bit of a better headspace and we can focus, and I can talk to you about this theory of anthropology that's on the fringes of the anthropology of theories, and not everybody believes it, but it has been compelling to me, and hopefully I will introduce you to it and then you can go and look at it yourself. But it's crazy and I really enjoy it and I really think it to be true. So come with me, will you? Let's go. Okay, so we're going to start at the top. We're going to work our way down from the left to the right. Okay, so we begin with us humans. We branched off from our other primate companions about 300,000 years ago. About 150,000 years ago, we started developing a little bit more civilized societies. We kind of started to expand a little bit more. There was a big glacial ice age at the time. Then about 80,000, it recedes and then it comes back about 80,000 years ago. Then 70,000 years ago, there's an incident that really just bottlenecked our whole species. And we kind of repopulated slowly but surely up to about 50,000 years ago. 50,000 years ago, we're doing pretty good. We've expanded out, and that leads us to the second timeline. The second timeline is from 50,000 years ago to 25,000 years to 12,000, 5,000, 2,000 years ago, Jesus, to now. Okay? But we're primarily going to be focusing on is what this whole kind of theory kind of has sparked and is about is around 11,800 to 12,600 years ago. And this time is called the Younger Dryas. And during this time, it's theorized, and this is where it goes into conspiracy land, but I really don't think it's conspiracy. So, at this time, the Younger Dryas, it is thought by some that an asteroid came down and struck the polar ice cap, the northern polar ice cap. A couple asteroids came down and struck the polar ice cap, and it kind of reset our technology, and it reset us back to like a Stone Age, and really just sent us back to the Stone Age. And we had to regain ourselves back from then until now. Before this time, it's theorized in this expanded theory that we had technology, not like phones and internet and all that, but technology that allowed us to do certain things. I know, it sounds crazy. It's not technology that we would recognize nowadays. It's a different sort of technology that we had back then, potentially. Now, Like, not even the asteroid impacts are verified or thought by mainstream archaeology to be a thing. But over here, I was talking about in rock layers, and even in Arizona, there's somewhere where you can go see this certain rock layer where you know how like layers of rock, and you can go back in time, like in the Grand Canyon, you can see different layers of time. So there's a certain time which correlates to 12,000-ish years ago, where like megafauna and the Clovis people, which were like early Native American settlements, and like saber-tooth tigers and all that, like the American cheetah, all that, were here, were roaming around, and then a dark, ashy with special compounds from that are thought to be mostly associated with asteroid impacts layer, and then above, no real megafauna, no real mammoths or saber-tooth tigers or anything were found above that, which means they were probably wiped out or definitely really hurt by that. So not a whole lot of them existed past that, what looks to be impact zone, much like the dinosaur impact, which has a very similar boundary. It's called the KT line. Before that, you have dinosaurs. After that, you have no dinosaurs. And we all know, we're all pretty sure, even in mainstream archaeology, that the dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid, weakened by a long period of time of volcanic eruptions, and then bam, asteroid, death. And then, much like that, it's weakened, or not really weakened, but like, you know, ice age, real cold, all that, bam, asteroid, floods, all wiped out. Very similar, which makes me feel really good about it. And this is why I'm bringing it to you. And further evidence, in America, there are potholes all around in a circular shape around, just like up in Canada. And they go from the East Coast all around, and you can see them in LiDAR, which can like penetrate the ground and kind of let you see what's going on underneath. And some of them are just lakes now, but there are, it's like a splash zone. It's like something came, impacted, splashed out, and glaciers, rocks, boulders hit the earth around that. And further up in Washington, there are the scarred lands, which look like big canyons of river that sort of like the Grand Canyon, were cut with water, but in a very rapid, like, week. And they're huge, and like icebergs have taken and moved giant pieces of rock and have just carved straight through the earth in like a week. And that's up in Washington. So all that looks to be roughly around 11,000, 12,000 years ago, which coincides with the line, which coincides with, well, we will go into Gobekli. I can never pronounce this one. Gobekli Tepe? Sorry. Maybe I'll right here on the bottom here of what it actually is. But right around this same time, maybe like slightly after, about 11,800 years ago, there was a giant temple built with big stone pillars with animals carved into them, that all correlate with different things that were going on at the time, and all of them have, and one of them has a, um, like constellation. It has constellation pointing at one specific point in the sky, which correlates with an asteroid, like a comet, with a comet tail that we travel through twice a year. And it points exactly to that. It points you exactly to right there. It tells you, it gives you a date of when it happened. There's um, there's so much that points directly at like a single date, and it points to a star, and all like it has multiple that point to one star, and it points to one constellation area, and that is the area where they say snakes from the sky fell. And the snakes from the sky are thought to be asteroids. And we can go down here to the world map. That's in Turkey. And in Malta, there are many temples that were built looking at one star. Over thousands of years, the Earth tilts and on its axis, so it's like it spins around, and it also wobbles around like this. So it's constantly, the stars are constantly changing over the thousands of years where things point to. And in Malta, there are at least 20 different sites that point directly to Sirius, which is the brightest star, which also correlates with Göbekli Tepe and the constellations that the asteroids came from. Okay, so you have that. And all around the world, in America, Mexico, South America, Egypt, like in Malta, and Turkey, and even down in the Indonesian, there are tales of flooding and people coming to rescue the survivors and to teach them how to live in society again, and how to build temples and do agriculture, as if somebody remembers before times in this time area, and it's going back around the world to make sure everybody else is good and can continue on, because we were brought back to the Stone Age. And there's a bunch of evidence that says that we had different technologies back then to be able to do all this. And now we've forgotten these technologies, and we've gone onto a separate path of technology. So let's get into that. I'm trying to remember what all I said on here and why I have all these things on here. So we'll just go, okay, so all that's covered. So we'll go down to the Sphinx. They think the Sphinx and the pyramids are a lot older than 5,000 years old. I think they're much older, like into the 10,000 years old. And they think that the Sphinx was once a lion, not like a lion body with a pharaoh head, because the head is so small. And there is weathering, water erosion weathering, that on the wall around the Sphinx that suggests that it's been there for thousands and thousands of years, longer than the 5,000 years that everybody says that the Sphinx was built and the pyramids were built. And there's no pharaohs at the bottom of the pyramids, so they're not tombs. That's the Valley of the Kings. That's where they were. And there's no hieroglyphs or anything saying as to how they built the pyramids and all that. which I find strange. And there's now like aerial views of the pyramids, and this is just my speculation. I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, but on the top of the pyramids, like the top blocks, they all have these curious holes that I saw. There's an aerial view, and it zooms way into the Great Pyramid, and they all have these holes on top. Like every single block has a hole, and it's right on top. I just thought that was curious. What do you think of that? Anyway, along with all this ancient Egypt stuff, and they may or may not being built earlier, there are pots. Oh, before I get away from that, the pyramids, okay, like the main 3 or 4 or 5 are all nicely built, and they were finished smoothly, but that's been stolen away to build other things from the ancient Egyptians. And as the pyramids get newer, the quality goes down. It's like as if the old pyramids, like the first 3 and then a couple after, were good, and then the pyramid quality went down, as if they got worse over time. But that makes no sense, because you should be able to get better over time. If you're making things, like, you should get better. Practice makes perfect, right? But in ancient Egypt, you nailed it at the first couple, and then you forgot how to do it on the last couple. Why could that be? Because they were built with an ancient technology that was wiped out, and then when they tried to redo or make new pyramids, they didn't work out as well. Also, in ancient Egypt, there are granite pots, right? Granite is the second hardest material, one of like the hardest materials on Earth, okay? And they're perfectly flat within a hair of being perfectly flat. How could you do that with a chisel and hammer? You couldn't do that with a chisel and hammer. And they have, like, this, the top right here, they have holes, perfectly circular, that go straight down. And the angle of, like, this looks like this, right? It opens up if you go half section. That right angle is perfect to within less than a hair as well of being exactly perpendicular, 90-degree angle. How could you do that? Chisel and nail. That perfectly. It should not be that perfectly. And also, they have handles which have drilled holes in them. How could you do that without a drill? Well over 5,000 years ago, because these were passed down through the ancient Egyptians. Ancient Egyptians made their own pottery out of clay, and they were not nearly as good as that. Furthermore, the drilling sites and the excavation sites from where the Egyptians got their pyramid, like all the stones from the pyramid, they quarried them out of mountains and whatnot. And first off, just how do you move 100-ton stones from like hundreds of miles and place them up hundreds of feet in the sky, over mountains, up rivers, and all that? How do you do that? And in certain areas, there are coring samples. Like they drilled into the rock with a 2-headed drill that kind of spins around in a circle, and it drills down like that. Just drills down and spins in, and it was a high RPM, so it wasn't just like slowly doing it over the course of a day. It was rapidly doing it and just spinning around and just drilling down into there, and they can watch the spiral go down, which is way faster than anybody could have done it up until like recent times with our technology. And a lot of walls, a lot of buildings, a lot of different areas all around the world have these giant stone walls made of rocks of all different shapes and sizes that perfectly fit together, where you couldn't even fit a credit card in between them or a razor blade in between them. Perfectly cut, shot together. Can't get a razor blade in between them. No mortar, no connecting materials needed. It just sat perfectly into each other. How could you do that? I believe they say that we still struggle to do that today. And these sites are found all around the world, along with all the tales of all the floods. Each like society on all parts of the world have tales of a flood. All have tales of snakes coming from the sky. Even here in America, in Ohio, there's a snake monument that has its mouth pointing at the sun on the summer equinox. And it's thought to have been built right around this time to warn about asteroids. And in Turkey, there are underground cities that were dug out. Mainstream archaeology says they were dug out to prevent, to hide from like war and whatnot. But why would you dig into a place where you can't get out of to hide from war, when they could just seal you off and you all die in a couple weeks because you don't have food to go eat? Or, and this is multiple layers, this is 16 layers down, and there was a underwater river that they could go get water from. Okay, they could house like cows and whatnot in there. Who has time to dig that before, like, when you're in the middle of a war? You don't have time to dig that in the middle of a war. But in preparation for snakes, asteroids from the sky, you want to go underground to protect yourself from it. We, in this current generation, like the billionaires and whatnot, they have secret bunkers, or not so secret bunkers, in strategically different places so that they can go and hide. So why wouldn't the agents have done that, to go and hide if shit hits the fan? All this evidence really seems to support that after we were all mostly wiped out, we kind of got our shit together, and you know, and on this timeline, like, we've gotten here, let me show you this as well. This is what like really cemented it for me. Like, even if all this can be explained away, right? I'm just saying, our recorded history is pretty much from 6,000 years ago, right? Like, actually, like 6,000 BC. So, right around here, right? Okay, can you see that? Can you see my arrow? Good. So, right around here. So, present day. This little bit of the timeline, right? Okay. You see how much progress we've made? We've gone from the Bronze Age, the Stone Age, to the Bronze Age, to moving around, to populating, to the invention of electricity, to all the different Victorian areas, the discovery areas, and then even getting to like iPhones and all that. have all happened in this small stretch of time. We've been around for this long. We were already wiped out here. Sure, yeah, fine. We rebuilt up till here. So, what on earth stops you from saying that in this time we were just chilling, not doing anything? Do you know any humans that just chill? Like, even if we were rebuilding up to 25,000 years ago, that still gives us 10,000 years. No, 13,000 years right here, right? 13,000 years. We're just twiddling our thumbs, sticking our thumbs up our ass. Like, no, we were inventing things, we were doing things, we were getting things done. And then we had an asteroid impact that kind of wiped out a good vast majority of us, sent us back to the Stone Age, wiped out all of our technologies with floods and just lack of people knowing how to make this technology. And then we've just been slowly rebuilding, and all these different sites from around the world have been watching where the asteroids came from since right after the asteroid impact. We were making technology for 13,000 years. Asteroids hit us. The little bit of people that had the technology still used all of their might to build temples and to look at the sky where these asteroids came from and to warn future generations of where these asteroids came from. Göbekli Tepe, however you say it, shows us exactly where they came from, and then they buried it to save it so that we, here in the future, can find it and be warned where asteroids come from and to watch out for them. They buried it. They built a big mega complex, showed us where everything was coming from, and then buried it just after it happened. Then somebody, so the tales say, not even like the people who are talking about this theory, say that people came around to help everybody rebuild from the sea, went back out, and then we started to slowly rebuild society until present day, which is 10,000 years, which is crazy because we got to this technology in 10,000 years, and we had 13,000 years of solid people doing things. I'm just saying, this is my takeaway from all of this, that we had some sort of ancient technology right here that we were able to build pyramids and different crazy wall structures and had drills, and were able to build cool crazy pots and like different things. We got hit by an asteroid, got wiped out back to the Stone Age. We gave ourselves different things all across the world to say, watch out for this part of the sky where the asteroids fall from. And then somewhere in these thousands of years, we forgot. It all became myth. And in the last 5,000 years, people have taken over, and everything has been run by greed. Like Nikola Tesla, all his ideas were taken by the government and sealed off. And he was about to try to do free energy and all that. And I understand that the free energy, we probably couldn't have our technologies that we have now if we had that, because like you couldn't, like all the electric fields in the sky would make phones not work. I understand that. It's probably for the best that it happened, but still, different like technologies and corporations and all of them have been bought out by greed, and now we've gone on a different course than they went here. Here they went to whatever led them to be able to make these structures, and we went on sort of a path of greed and making money and like ruling the world with money and all that, and separating ourselves. What do you think? What are your thoughts of this crazy madness? Mine, I completely believe this. This fascinates the hell out of me. And I totally believe that in this 13,000 years or more that we rebuilt society and had technologies going, and then we were wiped out. We warned ourselves, we forgot, and we went on a different path of technology. The evidence is everywhere across the entire planet. And I think it's fascinating. So, everybody take off your tinfoil hats. See if you can go back to your normal lives now that you have heard this. I can't. And I keep going more and more down this rabbit hole and trying to find all the information I can. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great day. ENT Crazy out.